In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about maneuvering around your screen and how to manipulate and go through and change things in your screen. My favorite thing for getting around the screen is really the F key, as in Frank. So you click on any object. I showed this in the outliner as well, but you click on any object and you hit F as in Frank, and it focuses that item and it brings your viewport to that item. What's helpful about the outliner, right, is if you click on something that is not necessarily in your view right now that you can see, trying to find something that's not there, and then you hit F, right, it brings you to that, which is nice. But if you can see it, but you want to get closer on it, hitting F is perfect. So how I usually have my hands set up when I'm working on a computer in Unreal is I use my mouse, and then I have my keys, my left hand on my keyboard on the WASD. So basically I have my pointer finger, I put on D, my middle finger, I put on W, and my ring finger, I put on A. And so you use those, so W kind of moves you forward, A moves you back, so I use my middle finger to go forward and back, and then I use D to go to pan to the left, or pan to the right, and A to pan to the right. Now, to pan left and right, you actually need to also use your mouse at the same time. So the left mouse button is going to just basically pan you left and right. Sorry, that might be a little jarring, it was a little fast. And then the right lets you kind of pan all around, right? So the left, you basically go left and right. You can't go up or down. You go forward and backwards. The right mouse button lets you pan in a 360 range, right? You could just go any which way you want. So when you combine the right with D, it lets me move to the right and pan and at the same time. And so that's basically how you're going to be maneuvering around. I will tell you, I get like over here in the lost in the wind, right? This will occasionally happen to me. And so that's why I really like the F key. So I go click on something and I hit F, and look, I'm right back where I wanted to be and not in the middle of nowhere again. So that's kind of just using the keyboard and the mouse to get around the screen. You also have the middle button. If you have a scroll thing on your mouse, that will do the zoom in and out, which is helpful. And I think you could also, if you wanted to use the arrow keys, you can use the arrow keys as well on your computer, but I usually have my right hand on the mouse, so I don't usually use the arrow keys. That's why I use WASD. All right, and then when you have an object and you want to manipulate it and its size and move it around, there's a couple things. So we're going to start with this object because that's what I currently have selected. And you see I have it selected, and if I take any object, you'll see it, right, that there's this arrow system that comes up. So this is in a 3D coordinated, that's easy for me to say, coordinate system, right? So X, Y, and Z. And so you want to click on an item and then come down to the bottom section, and you want to be on details, and you should be able to see kind of in the middle what's called transform. And this is basically telling you about any object that's in your game or in your environment. It gives you information about its location, its rotation, and its scale. So the location is this first one that I'm on, right? It gives me these arrows, and there's also a button on your viewport up at the top that correlates with that, right? So it's over here, and there's a key line that goes with it as well, which is W. So you can see it tells you it's select and translate objects. And so I have this object selected. If I want to move this object and I want it in a different location, I could click on the arrows and click and drag it to a new location. So you can see if I just wanted to move it any which way, I could click on the circle in the middle, but say I just wanted to move it around one axis. Then I can just pick that one axis I want to move it along, and I click and drag it. And then, any which one you want, X, Y, and Z. I always forget which one's X, Y, and Z. But you can see over here where it changes these values, right? So you can see, right, my red, there's the 0. I'll try to get to 0. Close enough. So if I wanted to, I could put it at 0. And then I could put, 100, and I'll move it. I could put negative 100, and it'll move it back, right? So you could either move it with the arrow keys, or you can move it with the numbers, whichever is your preferred method. Most people usually like to just kind of decide where they want items placed and how they're doing it. So that's translate or location. The next one, if under Viewport you go and click, and or you could hit the E key, is in Edward, and you'll see that it changes to select and rotate the object, and it changes the arrows to these kind of circular things, right? And what this does, it lets you rotate your object in any which way you want. So again, you can click and drag on this, and it will let you rotate that object any which way on that 360 wheel, right? And any which way you want to do it. And again, this is also the rotate on the right hand side in the details pane. You could change it so, right, it'd change any value you want. If you want it to be, 120, right now it's under the screen. I've lost it. Oh my, I could always put it 0 to make it go back to where it was at the beginning. So that is E for the rotation. Again, you'll see it signified by the circular pattern. And then the last one is R, and this is scalability. Now, don't tell me why they don't have them alphabetized of select the object and rotate it is E, and so rotating is E and scalability is R. I don't understand their reasoning, but that's how we have it. R is scalability, or you could just hit the little button. And this lets you change the size of the object. So again, you could pick either direction. So again, it's the XY coordinate system. And you could pick any of them and make them bigger or smaller, depending on what you want. Or if you want, you can pick the white one in the middle. That'll do all of them at once. And so we can make it really small or really big just by clicking and scaling it on it, right? And if you want, you could always put it back to 0 if you want it back, but usually you want some kind of size to it, right? And all of them have these arrows on the side if you want to reset it to 0 on everything. But we probably don't want to do that. And you always can go back and go undo and put things back the way they are. And you can keep going undo until you get it back to where you see it and have it be the position and size that you want it to be, right? So I put it back into where it's now back where it started from. So that is manipulating objects and maneuvering around your screen.